You might have heard that there was another round of voting in the 2020 Democratic primary. In what some are calling Super Tuesday 2.0, Joe Biden saw another sweeping victory. Hello and welcome to another TLDR Explained video. We've been keeping up with the election results and we're ready to give you an update of what happened. So in this video, we're going to give you a rundown of what happened in Tuesday's primaries and what it could mean moving forward. If you like our videos and want to see more from TLDR as the primaries wrap up and the 2020 race begins, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we post new videos. Oh, and if you didn't know, over on our UK channel we've been discussing the virus a lot, with videos on its economic impact and the WHO's recent pandemic announcement. Links to both of those videos can be found below. Before we get started on Tuesday's primaries, just a quick recap of what's happened recently. Joe Biden had a great showing in both South Carolina and then again on Super Tuesday, winning 10 of the 15 contests on the day, while Bernie Sanders won 4 and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg won 1. However, Bloomberg and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren dropped out of the race after their poor results on Super Tuesday, leaving only Biden and Sanders in the race. To be fair, we do realise that technically Tulsi Gabbard is still in the race. However, given her poor results in the primary so far, along with her current delegate count and standing in the polls, we feel it's safe to say that she will not be the party's nominee. That was pretty much the state of the race on Tuesday, when 6 contests took place: Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, and Washington. At the time of writing, returns were still being reported, but it's safe to say that Biden won handily in Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, and Missouri. Sanders' only victory was North Dakota, and at the time of writing, with 77% of Washington precincts reporting, Biden holds a 1.3% lead. Needless to say, it currently remains too close to call. These were always going to be hard states for Sanders to win, and the demographics were definitely to Biden's advantage. Biden's performed well with black voters throughout the campaign, and on Tuesday we saw that trend continue. In Michigan, the state with the most delegates on offer, Biden picked up 66% of black voters, significantly ahead of Sanders' 27%. The same was true in Missouri and Mississippi. In fact, in Missouri, Biden's lead was even stronger, with 72% of black voters. In Mississippi, where black voters make up nearly 70% of the population, Biden went even further, picking up 87% of the black vote, destroying Sanders' 10% support. In 2016, Sanders said that his campaign was too white, and it looks like they may have had the same issue in 2020. While Bernie has performed well with Latinos and young voters, he's consistently struggled to bring black voters on side, which in the Democratic primary is a major issue. South Carolina was the first sign that things weren't going Sanders' way. Then we saw Super Tuesday's mixed results, and with these results on top of that, many assumed that Sanders' campaign might be over. So it was a bit of a shock when on Wednesday afternoon, Sanders announced that he would be staying in the race, despite heavy losses in the last 2 weeks. He recounted his campaign platform on healthcare, income inequality, climate change, and of course, defeating Donald Trump.
Let me begin by reiterating what I have said from day one of this campaign, and that is that Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in the modern history of our country, and he must be defeated. Last night, obviously, was not a good night for our campaign from a delegate point of view. We lost in the largest state up for grabs yesterday, the state of Michigan. We lost in Mississippi, Missouri, and Idaho. What became even more apparent yesterday is that while we are currently losing the delegate count, we are strongly winning in 2 enormously important areas which will determine the future of our country. Poll after poll, including exit polls, show that a strong majority of the American people support our progressive agenda.
To be fair to Sanders, however, while it's looking more and more likely that Biden will be the nominee, there are still plenty of contests and plenty of delegates left to be decided, including in the next round, which will be held on March 17th. However, keep in mind that Sanders would have to receive an immense vote share in the next several states to have a real chance at nomination. And as much as some Bernie supporters might like to see it happen, it's looking incredibly unlikely that he can pull this back. In fact, 538's forecasting shows a total transformation in recent months. Sanders went from frontrunner in February to almost impossible today, with their models giving Biden an over 99% chance of victory. So that begs the question, can Bernie still win? Or is Biden now the de facto nominee? Well, if you crunch the numbers, look at how many delegates each candidate has and how many there are left to claim, the maths looks bad, but not technically impossible for Sanders. It looks like Sanders can still technically win the nomination, with the senator requiring around 2,000 more delegates to scoop the vote. Sanders' hope lies in winning the upcoming states with large delegate counts, which means that next week could end up being decisive. Next week sees Florida, Illinois, Ohio, and Arizona all vote, with those states allocating 577 delegates, with Florida alone allocating 219 delegates. That being said, if Sanders still has a shot of pulling it back, he'd need to sweep the states voting next week and continue that momentum for the rest of the primary process. Sanders would need to continue winning in the upcoming states, with April 28th, the day that Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island are signing 663 delegates, being a particularly important day in Bernie's calendar. The difficulty for Sanders is explained simply by NPR, who said that a lot of the April 28 states are mid-Atlantic and northeastern states, but that may lean Biden's direction. New York is the biggest prize of the day, but even if Sanders wins it, if he's not rolling into that day with victories elsewhere, he won't be able to net the delegates he needs for the nomination. So while Biden doesn't have the race sewn up from a mathematical perspective, Sanders would need his fate to turn very quickly and require an impressive number of votes to make a win likely. So while Biden doesn't officially have the nomination just yet, it does look unlikely that anyone else has the numbers to beat him. In the meantime, Sanders and Biden will head to Arizona on Sunday in the first one-on-one debate of the campaign. Sanders also indicated in his press conference on Wednesday afternoon that he'll be asking questions of the former vice president regarding the aforementioned parts of his platform. So what does this mean going forward? Well, you may recall us talking about momentum a few videos ago, and its importance in the presidential election campaign. In an election year, a candidate is said to have momentum after winning several primary contests. With momentum in their favour, a candidate is able to get more time in the news cycle and have more of an opportunity to make their case to voters. So obviously, after Tuesday's primaries, along with his previous wins, Biden definitely has the momentum. The question then becomes whether Sanders can steal some of that momentum back following the debate on Sunday. The next voting is set to take place on Saturday in the Northern Mariana Islands, a US territory in the Pacific, with the states of Arizona, Florida, Illinois, and Ohio voting on Tuesday. And as I mentioned earlier, these states are important because due to their populations, they're rich in delegates. Another interesting event happened on Wednesday afternoon, when House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn of South Carolina called for the cancellation of the remaining primaries and said that the party should declare Biden the presumptive nominee. This is certainly the latest sign that the establishment of the Democratic Party is wary of making Sanders their standard bearer against Trump, for fear that this could lead to a Trump victory in November. In fact, one particular detail that's of note is the margin of Biden's victories on Tuesday. For example, in the state of Mississippi, Biden took over 80% of the vote, and in Michigan, he took over 52% of the vote to Sanders' 36%. The large margins of victory for Biden could be an indicator of Sanders' weaknesses, should he become the nominee and face Trump in November. Essentially, it shows that a vast majority of the party don't support Sanders. It's possible that at least some of these people would stay home or vote for Trump over Sanders' democratic socialist policies, which would obviously spell trouble for Sanders and the Democratic Party in November. But again, there is still plenty of contests to be decided. So what do you think? Should Sanders drop out the race or stick it through to the convention? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'll keep you up to date on the primary and the election as it goes on, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when we post a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who make videos like this one possible.